up to a certain point. Basically, as you can see on the screen, this is the lotus, which represents karma in many Asian traditions. It's like a blooming lotus. It's one of the few flowers that simultaneously carries the seeds inside itself whilst it blooms. Seed is symbolically seen as the cause, the flower effect. Lotus is also considered as a reminder that one can grow, share good karma, and yet remain unstained even in muddy circumstances. Every mental, physical blow that is given to the soul, as it were, by its own, we are all doing karma all the time. I'm talking to you, that is karma. You're listening, that is karma. We breathe, all that is karma. We walk, everything we do, physical, mental, and virtually everything leaves a marks on us. And there are certain works which, as it were, the sum total of the large actions fall into the category of the sanskars. In chapter 1 of the 10th book of Srimad Bhagavad Puran, Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, talks about Kans to refrain from killing his wife Devaki, the mother of Krishna, by stating that death is certain for those who are born, and when the body returns to the 5 elements, the soul leaves the body and helplessly obtains another form in accordance with the laws of karma, citing passages. However, there is do good things and good things will come your way. That's how the world goes around. But this is completely true. For example, if you donate 500,000 pounds to charity with inner intention and say, I wish I could have given more, it's not the same as donating the same amount unwillingly or under pressure. And if not, then what is the real law of karma? Last time we talked about the phalas, the sanskars, the vasanas, the self-perception, and the implications on the karma itself. Once caught in this karmic cycle, there is no escape. So we now move on to, there's a thing that the truth is, if you, when we take that example of donating the money, if you do it willingly, it means you bind positive merit karma. And if you donate the same amount unwillingly, which means you bind demerit your karma. Whatever actions you do or words you speak, they are all a result or can be a result of karma. Just the mere action of doing something good does not necessarily mean you bind merit karma. The important thing is the intention behind that action, which binds new karma, and this is the law of karma. Basically, the seed is in the head, the mind. While experiencing the effect of your past life's karma, You simultaneously bind new karma for your next life, depending on your inner intention. In this way, you become trapped in the cycle of birth and death. Helping others physically by removing their physical needs is indeed great. But the help is varied accordingly as the need is greater and accordingly as the help are reaching. If a man can be removed for an hour, it is helping him. If his wants can be removed for a year, it will be more help to him. But if his wants can be removed forever, it is surely the greatest help that can be given to him. We'll take that into greater details. The Vedic origins of karma, or the theory of karma, go far back, way before time began, or into account. The Rig Veda, Upanishads, Brahmanas, Aranyas, Garud Puran, Mahabharata, and our famous Sri Bhagavad Gita. The karmic trails and the cyclic imprints, as we discussed last time in our session, all play a huge role in our present and future karma. The qualities of each one of us, be it sattvic, rajas, or tamas. We discussed that in our earlier sessions in slight detail of what these qualities entail. That is basically behind the actions that we do. That prompts the mentality. And then we talked about the prarabdha karma, which is the destiny that we come with when we are born. There is kriya, which is the present karma. And then we have the agam, which is the forthcoming, which is mandatory. And it is delivery of our past life karmas or even this life. Then we have the sanchit karma, which is cumulative of loads of lives put together. It could go right up to 1,000 years of our reincarnation. And then we have nishkam karma, which is stated in the Bhagavad Gita by Sri Krishna. And today we'll go into part 2. However, I'm just going to see if our guest speaker is there. Just bear with me one moment, please.
Jai Shri Krishna, Shreeti.
Jai Shri Krishna. Okay. We now going to look at examples of certain karmas. And when we talk about the examples of karma, we talk about helping others by removing their physical needs. However, the bad karmas that we do, knowingly, unknowingly, they all leave a mark, and there's a record of it all, whether we do it in front of others or not. Some of the examples are stated here in this list, and this is as per the a new age. However, we do have a sum total of lists in our Puranas. We discussed the Vedic text has a answer for everything, and an account of the kind of sins is stated very explicitly in the Garud Purana. So, if we consider that, I will share some of the examples whilst you read through the list on the screen. In the Garud Purana, that is, Garud Puran is actually a conversation between the Garuji, who is the carrier or the vehicle, as they say, of Lord Vishnu. So the conversation is between Garuji and Lord Vishnu on this karmic retribution. Garuji asks, what sins do humans do and where do they go in a great way? And why do they go to hell? This is his question, the opening question to the Blessed Lord. The Lord, Shri Vishnu replies to him, those who always delight in wrong deeds, who turn away from good deeds, they go from hell to hell, from misery to misery, from fear to fear. The righteous go into the city of the King of justice by the three gateways, but the sinful go into it only by the road of the southern gates. When we do, the scripture, we'll go into the details of what that indicates. It's talking about the hell and the seven planes above and the seven planes below and the gateway to that. However, in short, the slayers of Brahmins or drinkers of intoxicants, murderers of any sorts, be it women or men, destroyers of the embryo, and those who commit secret sins, those who steal the wealth of the teacher, the property of the temple, those who take away possessions of women, and who steal the possessions of children, those who do not repay their debts, those who misappropriate funds, those who betray confidence, and those who kill with poisonous foods. As you can see in the list, I've got a breakdown of what they are. Those who seize upon the fault and depreciate the merit, those who are jealous of those who have merit, those who are attached to the wicked, dusam as we call it, those who are foolish, those who turn away from the company of good, those who despise places of pilgrimage, those who hate good men, good actions, teachers, and acharyas, those who condemn the Veds, the Puranas, those who are elated at seeing the miserable, who try to make the happy wretched, who speak evil words and are always evil-minded, those who do not listen nor even to the word of the Dharma Shastras, those who are selfish and self-satisfied, who are unbending, who are foolish, and who, in spite of all this, think they are learned. These and many others, very sinful, devoid of righteousness, certainly go on the way to Yam, weeping day and night. They go to Yamlok. Those who dishonor their parents, mothers, fathers, teachers, they sink in it. Those who wickedly abandon their wives, those who ascribe evil to the good, even though possessed of 1,000 merits, and treat them disrespectfully, fall into the darker regions. Those who do not fulfill promises made to the Brahmins, and those who take away what the Almighty gave to others, those who repents his gifts and takes away another person's livelihood, and those who hinders others' progress, those who obstruct sacrifices, those who prevent the stories of the righteous, the Brahmin who sells liquors and consorts with the low caste women, and those who kill animals for their own gratification and not for the prescribed sacrifices of the Veds, those who put aside Brahmanic duties, who eat flesh and drink liquor, who is of unbridled nature, they all go to the dark regions. The Sudra, who studies the Veds, who drinks the milk of the cow and wears the sacred thread, lifts up from the regions of the dark, in spite of not being a Brahmin. These are just some of the examples. Those who give false witnesses, those who perform false duties, those who earn by cheating people, those who gain a livelihood by thieving, those who cut down and destroy big trees, gardens, and forests, and who neglect vows and pilgrimages. These are some of the examples as stated in the Garuda Puran. And there's a whole list of it. I mean, it's endless. And then Garuji asks Shri Vishnu, what are the particular signs that are produced, and what sort of births such scenes lead to? Now I'm going to give you just some of the examples of if a certain scene is performed, then the prescribed outcome of that sin. The murderer of a Brahmin becomes consumptive, the killer of a cow becomes humpback and imbecile, the murderer of a woman becomes leprous, and all three of them are born as outcasts and live a miserable life. The eater of flesh becomes the eater of flesh and the drinker of intoxicants. And the Brahmin, who on account of greed eats what should not be eaten, becomes big-bellied and never gets satisfied ever. He who eats sweet foods without giving to others becomes fallen-necked. And he who gives impure food at a shroud ceremony is born a leper. The man who through pride insults his teacher becomes epileptic. And those who despise the Veds and the Shastras become jaundiced and remain in the lower regions. Those who become bear false witnesses become dumb. Those who break the somebody's fast or who interferes with marriage or who steals is born book blind. Those who strikes a cow with his foot is born lame and deformed. Those who speak lies becomes a stammerer, and those who listens to them become deaf. A poisoner becomes insane, and those who sell flesh becomes unlucky and will never propagate any love. Those who steal jewels are born in a low caste, Those who steal gold gets diseased in the nails and other parts. So anybody who steals any metal becomes poverty-stricken. And those who steal vegetables and leaves and perfumes, they become a vulture. And we have loads and loads of, it's a whole list, but I've just shared some of the examples of, the bad karmas. How do you identify with those? So the answer is obviously, it's a moral thing, and also the scriptures, they help us with identification of what is right and what is wrong. Examples of good karmas: speaking the truth, charity with intent. As we saw earlier, that intention is the crucial factor. You could do something and the same karma without intention and with intention. However, the intention makes it fruitful. So does the one without intent, but that doesn't give you the merit. So when we move on to the, I'm just concerned about. Right. The remedies or mitigation. How do you rectify karma? According to the karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some are being elevated to upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary system. Out of the many millions of wandering beings, one gets an opportunity to associate with the Dharma Shastras. Now, why the Dharma Shastras? We're going to look at the remedies, right? The remedies is basically, for a start, once you do a karma, it can never be negated. Not at all. Every karma leaves an imprint. So it's not worth trying to escape. There is, in the human birth, you are fully at liberty to do any good or bad action that you choose. However, you can be a good man, a noble man, honest, and whatever you wish to. But if you are mean, crooked, or dishonest, even then you are at liberty to be, but at your own risk. And you must be prepared for the consequences. We cannot blame anybody, nor can we escape from its effect. As you sow, so shall you reap. As human beings, we are totally independent to any action that we choose. But mind well, independence implies responsibility also. You and you alone are responsible for your own actions and nobody else. Once you are caught in any karma, we should not try to escape by blaming anyone else or even God. Such unqualified independence is not given to animals and birds. Therefore, they are at a lower status because they possess only a functional mind, a lower intelligence, but no wisdom. They go about their activities only by intuition. A man committed 2 murders. In the case of the first murder, he could escape the conviction by engaging a very intelligent and influential lawyer. In the second case, he could escape by being, corrupt and giving bribes to the officers. And there is a third case in which, even though he was totally innocent of any crime, he was arrested by the police only on suspicion of looking to his past records, which, unfortunately, he was blacklisted. So there was no means for him to establish his guilt. However, in such a case, what we can say is that his sins of the previous two murders committed by him could not have at that time attacked him, probably because he got in store his punya karma. Also at that time, he would have prevented the sins of the two murders. But as soon as he exhausted his pious deeds from his previous sins, the remaining balance in his sanchit karma matured as destiny, which attacked him. And in the third case, even though he was totally innocent, he was caught. That's how karma works. All the things, nobody can say that if I do good, then I can still do bad and it will balance it off. No. There's also another thought. Why do purshat at all? Why do an effort if everything is karma related? Some people misunderstand that when we are the slaves of our destiny, we are not to gain anything more or less than what is destined. Then why do the purshat at all? We should just wait and expect our destiny to deliver. However, such pessimistic, fatalistic fanatics, they say it also to pass everything that goes wrong to destiny. It is indeed true that one would get only what one is destined. However, to make a clear and proper distinction where it is appropriate to resign to one's destiny and where it is appropriate to put in an effort. Securing a job is a matter of destiny, but having secured one, to sustain it with sincerity and diligence is a matter of personal efforts. So purshat is absolutely necessary. And so goes the good karmic deeds. Now, if we look at the remedies are virtuous living, grace of God, dedicating karma to God, astrological remedies, pujas, gemstones, crystals, fasting, chanting, pilgrimages, prayashchit. Now this is a very important part. Depending on karma, the prayashchit, does that really mitigate the karma? No. Prayashchit. Once let's say you hit somebody and you say sorry, and you mean it from the bottom of your heart, true repentation. However, the action has already occurred. So the action is already standing there and building on your karma. But for you to say sorry, that will aid another action. But it's not equal to the first action. Meaning, for you to slap that person or hit that person is not equal to saying sorry. Therefore, it's not actually a mitigation action. Otherwise, we could do all sorts of things and just say sorry, and that's the end of it. But it doesn't work like that. Vajrasattva, that is the Buddhism theory of how to go about your karma. But that's a whole chapter in itself. But it's not a mitigation. That again is a simple remedy. There is Jnana Yoga, there is bhakti yoga, there is meditation, and better reincarnation. But how does that work? How far do the stars, planets, and the demigods, the pujas that we do, whatever we mentioned here, the crystals, the gemstones, how do they work? And how far do they work in helping us face the prarabdha karma? The stars, the planets, and the demigods are the most pious and honest officers appointed by the Almighty for the implementation for the law of karma. Shanidev, Yamraj, those two are particularly in charge of that. The accountant, the top accountant, Chitragut. So, and the Devi Devtas, which help in the processes. They are not at all corrupt as we imagine them to be. If you perform certain rituals to worship them, they would help you by making your inner willpower, forces, and inclinations biased enough to face and endure your prarabdha. But they cannot totally relieve you from your prarabdha karma. They give you the willpower and ways to, find a solution. If you have committed a theft, the policeman will lock you up in a jail according to the judicial orders. But if he happens to be a friend, relative, or acquaintance, and if you behave properly and respectfully with him, he would naturally give you all the possible relief by supplying you with more tea, coffee, etc., and making your life there a little bit comfortable. He would even make sure that you get sufficient food to eat, a good bedding, etc. However, that is the limit of the law, just to make your jail period easier and more comfortable. But he cannot release you from the jail till your destined period is over, or else he would be dismissed from his role, right? So in the same way, the stars, planets, demigods, they're all representative of God Almighty. We worship them respectfully by observing and following certain prescribed rituals. They would bring courage, peace of mind, inner strength, and solace for you to endure the suffering which are destined in your prarabdha, and give you all the mental peace that you do not feel the torture or the anguish while suffering your fate.
Shreeti, sorry, Shreeti. Shreeti,
Yes.
I don't want to disturb you, but everybody's finding it difficult.
Because it's a totally mathematical. From the exact position of the stars and planets at the time of a child's birth, and the moments during the transit, during the life journey of the child, expert astrologer can foretell the predetermined karmas or the destiny. However, there are many other episodes and incidents during this journey that can change and alter according to our what shall I say, Kriyaman karma. And because of that, many astrologers sometimes get baffled because the fall is meant to be something else, yet it changes radically. And that is due to the delivery of some sanchit karmas, the good deeds that will negate, what was expected, and the favor of the pujas or the gemstones or the grace of God. Ultimately, we are going to talk about the grace of God, which is one of the most important factors. And in terms of astrology, it can be used. It's an aid just like anything else. Yoga, Nanyo. Now that's a very, very important factor as well. There's also, people say, how about chanting? Does that, mitigate the karmas? Well, chanting is one of the most unequivocal terms in the religious scriptures, whether it's in Christianity or Hinduism or any, because chanting is applicable to a lot of religions in the world. However, chanting the name of Sri Ram, Sri Krishna, or any other chants can definitely abolish millions and millions of sins from your previous lives. And it is also correct. But if you once chant the name of Sri Krishna or Sri Ram, and therefore thereafter do any sinful action or deed, this is the important part. Those sins which were abolished by chanting the name of the Lord will all again automatically come back and totally fall upon you. This is one of the most important. It's also stated in the other Dharma Shastras. So if one wants to, negate the karmic accumulation of their bad karmas, then chanting is a good remedy. But you have to be, the intent has to be there, that it's, it's got to be thereafter as well. You're not going to change your intentions or your karma. It's not going to be negative. While chanting the name of the Lord, how can anybody do a sinful deed? It's like if you take a bath only once, your body will be totally clean. But thereafter, if you again fall in the dirty mud, or you go out and you're running, whatever, you become sweaty, your taking the bath will go totally in vain. It's a bit like that. That is a physical attribute, whereas the karma is a deeper attribute. And therefore, if if while chanting the name of God, if you do a sinful deed, and while doing the sinful deed, both these actions cannot be done at the same time. And if you go on chanting the name of God and simultaneously continue doing sinful and immoral deeds, it will also amount to nothing but hypocrisy, which again is a very, very serious sin compared to even doing the wrong sin. So you've got double negative karma. And that is why, even though we find people chanting the name of God, they're also speaking lies so many number of times in a day, practicing dishonesty, cheating, black marketing, smuggling, corruption, adulteration, and similar misdeeds in their daily life. In such cases, the chanting of the name of God would not help them in facing their karma. Therefore, we go back to the question, how does this work? And the only way it can work is, as per our Dharma Shastras, I am in a thing, bear with me. Okay. As per the Vedic scriptures, all the Vedic scriptures come to the same thing. The remedy to counteract the reactions for sin is prashchit. That is one of them. There are different kinds of prashchit described in the scriptures for various sins. And the process appears in Srimad Bhagavad in the 6th canto, chapter 1. But the same Srimad Bhagavad also points out, this is the Srimad Bhagavad Puran. You know, we discussed this 18 Puranas. One of them is the Srimad Bhagavad Puran. And in the beginning, when I described the scenes, I was talking about the Garud Puran. So that's the other Puranas, right? So, in the same Bhagavad Gita, it's also pointed out the pitfalls of the so-called processes of paschata. It clearly describes the most of the processes for paschata do not cure the sinning mentality, and therefore the soul is not able to redeem all the karmas through this process only. Okay, if the soul continues committing the sins, okay, otherwise they are valid. However, Shukdevji Maharaj, who is the narrator of the Srimad Bhagavatam, informs King Parikshit of the processes of paschata and the need for paschata. King Parikshit is a Vedantist himself, and he, for the same reason, accepts those paschata as a formal guarantee from the Lord himself. However, for himself, he rejected that, and he tells Shukdevji Maharaj, one may know that the sinful activity is injurious for him because he actually sees that a criminal is punished by the government and reprimanded by the people in general. And because he hears from the scriptures and the learned scholars that one is thrown into hellish quarters and conditions in the next life for committing sinful acts in this life, but it's not necessary in the next life. Nevertheless, in spite of such knowledge, sometimes one is forced to commit such sins again and again, even after performing paschata. Then what is the value of such paschata? That was the question. However, the Srimad Bhagavad in the next stage states, sometimes one who is very alert so as not to commit sinful activities is victimized by sinful life again. Therefore, this process of repeated sinning and paschata can be useless, as we discussed. If you continuously sin and continuously repent, it doesn't work. It's negative. You get negative karma. You can't be a hypocrite. You say sorry and you repeat the same thing again and again and again. So that will be counted as a sin, not as a good deed. Shukdevji Maharaj also accepts the argument made by the king and acknowledges him in the Srimad Bhagavad. He tells him, since the act meant to neutralize the impious actions are also fruitive. So basically, if you're doing charity or you're saying sorry, even that is an act. And if that act is also meant to neutralize your actions, and they will not release one from the tendency to act fruitively. Persons who subject themselves to the rules and regulations of pashyata or prashchit are not at all intelligent. Indeed, they are in the mode of darkness, tamas prakriya. As we discussed, the three guns, sattvic, rajas, and tamas, they fall under the tamas prakriya. Therefore, even though one may superficially seem pious, he will undoubtedly be prone to act impiously. And in Kali Yuga, we have so many examples of such people, who seem or who act like, what they're not, basically. I wouldn't go into the details, but we see that in the society. Therefore, the real compensation for this, as the Srimad Bhagavad states, is enlightenment in perfect knowledge, which is Vedant. That is enlightenment, by which one understands the supreme absolute truth. Knowledge can be of any kind, can be a scientist, engineer, whatever. However, here we're not talking of that knowledge. We're talking about the knowledge of the soul, the Atma, and the supreme instructions for the liberation of the soul and to come out from the cycle of life and death and rebirth, reincarnation, janma maran prakriya. Nevertheless, he mentions another process to counteract the sinful actions, which is also known as the Gyan Marg. But he warns that this process also purifies the person. Besides, this process is impractical for most people, because you have to have that inclination to study the scriptures, to understand the scriptures. By the way, welcome all on aboard this wonderful journey of our Vedic wisdom. We are all in that process. So congratulations, everybody. Okay. To concentrate the mind, one must observe a life of celibacy and not fall down. Okay. One must undergo the austerity of voluntarily giving up unrequired sense enjoyment. One has to control the mind and senses, give in charity, be truthful, be clean and non-violent. These are the regulative principles, and regularly chant the name of the Lord. A sober and faithful person who knows these principles is temporarily purified of all the sins performed with his body, words, and mind. These sins are like the dried leaves of the creepers beneath a bamboo tree, which may be burned by fire, although their roots remain to grow again at the first opportunity. So, although our sins can all be burnt out, but a slight deviation from that path, the roots are there. That's how the process works. This is in terms of enlightenment of knowledge. This knowledge, we're talking about Vedic knowledge. That is one way to negate this negative karma. And there is one more thing, however, and we're just coming to that. Shukdevji Maharaj accepts that argument, and he talked about the Gyan. However, the ultimate, the best, and the only permanent method to counteract the reactions of sinful actions, the only and the permanent solution in this whole wide universe, okay, is given in the Srimad Bhagavad, chapter 10, verse 14, fourth shlok. And that is, only a rare person who has adopted complete, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. If a sinful person engages in a service of a bona fide Krishna devotee and learns how to dedicate his life into the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, he can be completely purified. One cannot be purified merely by undergoing austerity, brahmacharya, and other methods of paschata. The path followed by pure devotees who are well behaved and fully endowed with the best qualification is the most auspicious path in this material world. And that is free from fear, and it is authorized in all the Dharma Shastras. Therefore, the only way, as we can see, as per other scriptures, and also is in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, Sri Krishna states to Arjun, those, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, original and inexhaustible. The symptom that a Mahatma is that he has no engagement other than service to Sri Krishna. And one must render service to a Vaishnava in order to get free from sinful reactions, revive one's original consciousness, and be trained how to love Krishna. Now, many would say that Paramatma, Sri Krishna, is not their ultimate goal. I would like to point that out. There are also, we can talk about the Parabrahma, Paramatma in other swarups or in the Om factor. Even that is an important path. Okay, but here, because it's this quote is from Srimad Bhagavatam, the authority in scriptures, Srimad Bhagavad Puran, then we have Bhagavad Gita, and we have the Upanishads. They all confirm with that. Now, even in the Upanishad, it's Shvetashvara Upanishad. It also states about being free from sins, by conforming to the practice of devotion to the Almighty Supreme Paramatma. Now, in that way, we can talk about the Om factor, because that is also a credible pathway. The word Krishna Arpit Prana refers to a devotee who dedicates his life serving Krishna, not to be saved from the path of a fallen hellish life, but they do that without any expectation. It's done naturally. So you can also say Nishkam Bhav. And therefore, whatever is like, I don't know if have you heard of the shlok kayena vacha manasendriya va buddhyatmana va prakrute swabhava karomi yatvat sakalam parasme narayana yeti samarpayami. That means whatever I do with my body, speech, mind, or other senses of my body, or with my intellect and soul, and with a natural tendency, I offer and dedicate everything to Narayan, Sri Hari. This shlok is widely used for surrendering our karma to God. This shlok applies to the complete Vedic philosophy. And this verse also occurs in the chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And therefore, the only way, I don't know if are you able to see the slides? Because that's the, no? Okay, so it's obviously not going to work today. Whatever is done with body, speech, mind, sense organs. Okay, either way. All right. So when we look at the conclusion, it is clearly evident in the theory of karma that the only way out of this cycle of death and birth is Gnan or Bhakti and Nishkam Karma. As stated, we are studying currently in the Bhagavad Gita. So Gnan is also important, so is Bhakti. Therefore, in order to cross the ocean of the samsara, we dedicate ourselves to the Almighty, Sri Hari, and whatever we do, and try and do our best in our karmas. And this concludes the theory of karma. And we now open for questions. No questions? Wow. Okay, please unmute yourself because I won't be able to do that. I've lost control here.
Sorry, I got one question. Jai Shri Krishna.
Okay. 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 Yes.
One at a time, please, so I know. Now I'll be able to actually